Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Two Old Guys Reselling Podcast. We are your home for wrestling, reselling, and real good times. I may have said that backwards. I
No,
don't
you're
know.
good. 1 out of 4 episodes isn't bad.
One out of four. There you go. This is episode 55. We're rolling right along
Yep.
on the old episode count up to 55. That's pretty good. We'll take it. How's it going, Josh?
Doing great. Blessed. Tired. I guess, well, maybe not as tired as I was, but, doing pretty well. Got a good
That's
night's
good.
sleep last night. That helped out a lot. We had a busy weekend this weekend with homecoming at church. So great times. But, man, it's always just, I'm in that age group, I think. When I was a kid, I used to think it was just the most exciting time, because all you had to do was show up. And then you get to
Yeah.
this certain age, where you got this 20-year period where, you're kind of the group that you do everything. And then, live long enough, eventually you get old enough that you start to pass it off to other people, but not there yet. So
Give it another 10 years or so.
yeah. Yeah,
Let that other group grow up a little bit and take on
that's
some of
it.
those responsibilities. Homecoming, man, that makes me think of the meetup, like
Mhm.
we keep promoting it as a homecoming environment and atmosphere, and it is. And we're not saying it's going to be like necessarily like church. It's going to be like that friendly fellowship environment where you're just hanging out with your friends, having a good time, and that's I'm looking forward to that. And
Oh yeah.
by the way, we need to start this week promoting our sponsors. So let's do that right quick. The Highway 127, 2024 Highway 127, Pickin the Plateau, is sponsored. And we want to go ahead and run this video package to highlight our sponsors. So let's take a look. And we will get voiceovers real
Yep.
soon. We promise. It may take us like another week and we will get it done. But we appreciate My Reseller Genie. We appreciate Grams and Pops Vintage. And we appreciate these guys right here, Nathaniel and Ashley and Baby Gracie at Lucky 7 Auction. They have come on to sponsor
Yep.
the event. And if you are interested in sponsoring, you better hurry because we can only talk about you and show you from now until meetup time. So these guys get 6 to 8 weeks, which it's about right now. We're about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right at 8 weeks away from the event. So they're getting 8 weeks of promotion on this show. We're going to talk about those guys. Faith and Paul have been on with us. Corey and Teresa has been on with us. Nathaniel and Ashley will probably be on with us here in a little bit and just promote them. And if you're interested in that, that all is mentioned over on the Eventbrite page also, but get to be a guest on this show. I know that's a big selling point, hanging out with this two
That's it.
handsome guys like us,
Why
and
wouldn't it be?
yeah, exactly. And getting to it's just a huge package that just go check it out there. If you got questions, reach out to one of us. We can answer those questions. But we also have something else to announce. We was talking about before the show. Kind of excited about this part of the meetup. Hopefully there'll be more to it. We're kind of still on the bubble, waiting to see what happens. But hopefully will be more to this. But we are going to. I'll let Josh finish this out.
Oh yeah, the charity auction.
Yes.
We are looking to raise some money for some men's and women's home/rehab facilities, and we'll give more details on that probably in a couple of weeks, I would
Yeah.
say. We'll have that nailed down exactly. We got part of it figured out. We're still working on the other half,
Yeah.
but we want to gift. We want to be able to gift to both a male and a female facility, and
Yeah.
and so we're going to be having a charity auction on site. It's going to be live. And we'd really like to have, a combination of things to auction off, and preferably, if anybody's interested that's planning on attending, or even if you're just a viewer and you're not able to come and you would like to be able to donate to that. Our thought is when we're out picking, we usually buy, pretty low as far as the value compared to what something will sell for. And so,
Yeah.
we're not asking you to send a Nintendo 64 to us or nothing like that.
No, send that to us. Send
Yeah.
that
Yeah, personal gifts. But what we're really thinking is if you would like to donate an item and you want to send it ahead of time, that would be great. If you want to bring it with you, if you're coming, that'll be fine too. But definitely let us know as soon as possible. And if you do decide to bring something or send something, we're thinking an item that on eBay would be valued in maybe a $40 to $50 range. And then the people that are bidding for these items, of course, they'll be the ones that are putting up the actual cash money that would be donated. And they will take that item home. And if they want to resell it, they can resell it and recoup at least, some of what they invested. So it's really those of you that are donating the items or sending the items, if you're not able to come, that are giving the donation. It's really a dual effort between you and the person bidding. And so we're just trying to raise a little money for that. Also, if you have merchandise, some of you that have YouTube channels do, and you'd like to maybe provide a merchandise pack, maybe a shirt and a hat or something like that, we could auction that off too. So anything you have an idea on, contact me or Caleb One, and we'll talk with you about it and see what we can do. And we'll, like I said, definitely would like to have we don't have time to do 100 items, of course, but we'd definitely like to have an idea before we get there of what we do have, so we can kind of do the timing and figure out, and we're both going to be contributing items to that as well.
Yeah. I think if the timing's right, what we've looked at is we'll have somewhere around 30 minutes to do this auction. So hopefully Nathaniel gets to make it, and he's just a great auctioneer, so that would be like ideal. Hopefully he gets to make it. If he gets to make it, he can give us like a great idea of, hey, you need X amount of items for a 30-minute auction, or if it bleeds into 35, 40 minutes, okay, whatever, just as long as we can kind of get everything squeezed in. But one thing about this charity auction, and this isn't any slap against anybody else. I know some people do 50-50. Some people do, certain portions go to the charity and certain portions cover costs or whatever. This is 100% going to charity. So if we make $500, $500 will go to charity, 100%. So that we're really excited about that. We have not got the women's home nailed down exactly yet, but we do have the men's home nailed down. For anybody that's interested in looking at that, it is Fairhaven Home for Men. It is located in, I want to say, the town is St. Stevens, South Carolina, I believe. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's it. Our church actually supports that men's home. It's a faith-based men's home that takes in addicts, anybody that's had any kind of trouble, homeless, just that's basically rock bottom, and they help them get a job, get cleaned up. They give them a place to live. They feed them. They train them, all that stuff to get them back to where they can get their life back.
Yeah.
And some of the stories coming out of that place is just unbelievable. And over the last few years, they was able to expand their operation. Now they can house like 35 or 40 men at a time. So that's a good number of people, to do that with. But we're excited about that. So like Josh said, if you have something you want to send, just reach out and we'll give you the exact information that you would need to be able to do that. But that's
one of the
parts.
I'm going to call an audible here on Caleb too with the auction. Let's throw this in there. We did not talk about this at all, but he's going to live with it because he loves me and he's going to overlook it. If we get more items donated than what we can do with the live auction, this is what we'll do. I'm just going to say we'll do this. We'll set a table up. And we'll have a silent auction for that. And we'll set a minimum bid. Yeah. We'll set those items out. So if you have some items that aren't worth $40 that you'd like to send, not like 50 of them, but like you have a $15 or $20 item, you want to send that, then we can set those up like on a silent auction on a table. And we'll let people just, bid what they want to bid, and whoever wins them wins them. Right. And we'll pick our best items for the live auction. The best items, most valuable ones, we'll use those for the live auction. So anybody that wants to, send something, within reason. Like I said, we got to be able to cover it all, but we've I don't want to turn someone away if we only have time for 15 items, but we have 20 cents. We'll make sure that the money is still collected somehow through some type of auction, even if it's silent auction, and we get that money to these facilities. So
now I'm no auctioneer, but I feel like we could do an item a minute. I feel like we could.
Oh, I was thinking whatnot style for sure. Short auction.
Like
move it.
Start it out and take off and be like, this is going to be a fast-paced auction.
Mm-hmm.
If you're wanting it bid, like, don't wait around because it's not going to be waiting on you, and just hammer and go, because we're trying to get as much money raised for these charities as possible. And if it's $500, $1,000, it don't matter. It's just whatever we can raise for them. That's the point. But we'll kind of let that lead into this. I wanted to talk about this today. This is starting off to be a totally different podcast than our normal podcast so far, but and I like that. But this topic of that me and you talked about earlier that I want to talk about, and I talk about it on my video this week. It's my topic on my video this week. Angie's Oddities. I think in the past she has watched the show and watched my channel. I'm not sure if she still does, but I think she was an Old School Picker follower too back in the day. But we're friends on Facebook, and she put a post out there the other day that it was talking about mentality and attitude, changing your attitude from I have to I get to. And I was like, I totally 100% agree with that mentality. When I got up this morning, I could have got up and said, oh, I have to run the kids across town, and I have to go pack eBay, and I have to do this, and I have to do that. Good Lord woke me up, and I got to take my kids across town, and I got the privilege of coming and working another day, and I got the privilege and the opportunity to hang out with you a little while. I mean, it's just attitude. It
is
so important, man. Like outlook on life, perspective. It can change a lot of things. If your perspective is, I've got to do this and I've got to do that, you're going to be miserable probably.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But if you look at it from and I'm not here preaching the power of positivity. I think there's more to it than that. But I am saying that perspective of how you view life is important.
Yeah.
I get to do this and I get to do that.
It's always good to remember. And look, I know these are somewhat, I feel like sometimes it's cliche because of how things are perceived and how they're presented in society today. But there's always people that are less fortunate. We sometimes view things, I know I mentioned on last week's episode that my brother had an episode, and been in the hospital, and, we can view those things. Those are things that are, I guess, trials or difficulties, and we can view them only as an inconvenience or only as something that we're quote unquote suffering through. Mm-hmm. But it's like last week when I said, the reality is it would be easy for me to get like caught up in my head. Well, I'm having to do this, I'm having to do that. And we have those mental battles about things. But the fact of the matter is, if I had the opportunity to do this for someone, I should really see it that way. And again, it's not, I don't think it's even the power. I say that a lot of times when I'm trying to teach Sunday school. I'm not trying to push this power of positive thought. I mean, we don't have power to do anything.
Right.
But the reality is how we choose to view our circumstance and our world around us. It has a big impact on how our day goes. It has a big impact on, our mental health. And, if all we do is view everything as a burden, as a challenge, as an inconvenience, it just makes life hard. But like you said, it's like whether it's taking the kids, you could be in a position where you never get to do that, but you get to spend that time with them every morning to take them where they need to go. You get to have that special time. You can look at it as not a special time if that's what you choose to do, or you can say, wow. I mean, I remember my dad picking me up from school because he was retired, and it wasn't the early years, but like after I was probably in about 5th or 6th grade, most evenings during the week, I looked forward to that until I was able to drive. I knew my dad was going to be waiting on me. And it was just a couple of miles, but to know that he paused his day to come and pick me up. As a kid, I was excited to get out there and get in the car with my dad. He was one of my best friends growing up. And so, I mean, I don't know that he always saw it that way, but I feel like maybe he did, because he never looked like he was upset about it. You know, he was getting to come and pick me up. He didn't have to send somebody else. And, you know, I mean, I could have rode the bus, but he chose to come get me because it was just a couple miles away and he was working at home. And, you know, that was a blessing to me. And I think it's all in how we see things, man. I'm hard on myself, and I think we mentioned this, and I'll try to wrap up what I'm saying about it, but there's a gap between the two. And I would never imply that, man, I always see things with the right attitude, because the truth is I find myself in that battle a lot where, you know, on one hand, it's almost like, you know, how you should be seeing this, but then those feelings, man, they get in the way sometimes, and it can be a battle. But I'm telling you, it's one worth fighting, and definitely one worth winning. And you got to wake up and want to see the world in a different way, or at least your circumstances, or it won't happen.
I got a good example. So today, and that was well said, but today I was coming down the road towards my home. It was in the center of our old home, down the center of the highway, about 2 miles away. And out of nowhere comes this car turning left in front of me. They didn't see me when they pulled out, and the car to my right blocked them just perfectly that I didn't see them pulling out. But I mean, they pulled out right in front of me, like 20 feet. And I basically stood up on my brakes. I missed them by about 6 inches. That's how close it was. So now I could have got mad. And I mean, I ain't going to lie and say, oh, I had a perfect attitude. You know, I ain't going to say I had a perfect attitude. But I could have got mad and went into a cussing fit and a rage and all this other stuff. Turn around, chased them down, all that stuff. And I could be sitting here saying, man, stupid idiots almost wrecked me. But I can look at it, thankfully, and say, the good Lord protected me from something bad.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, honestly, you know, you can get road rage is very real. You can get all this stuff pent up and get so mad, and or you can say, you know, man, that was just a blessing that I didn't hit them. It's kind of that cup half empty, half full stuff.
Yep.
You know, it's all in how you look at things.
And your example is peculiar. You choose that because I may or may not sometimes have mild symptoms of that sickness you're talking about.
Mild symptoms.
Yeah. Mild symptoms.
Oh, I get them too. I mean, the part I left out was I laid on the horn. But one reason, and most of the time when you lay on the horn, it's out of anger. It's like screaming at somebody, right? That's this time, this person didn't even look, right? When they come across, they were looking the other way. And I'm like, bam, I hit that horn and their head flies around. They're like, you know, like that. And they just barely got around me. But I'm doing 35 when I stand on the brakes. I mean, I was going, there was no stop. Had they not have just barely got around me, I would have T-boned them, and it would have been bad. Like, it would have been, I could have possibly killed somebody because it was right in their door.
Oh, man.
So I say I could have killed them. It was 100% their fault, but you get what I'm saying. But like, I do have the same, you know, like, I don't know what it is. I think it's in the man gene that when somebody pulls up beside you, we have this lane up here in town. Everybody knows that lives here. You get in the right lane at the red light, the lane ahead of you ends about 150 feet up. Everybody knows it, but they will get up there just to take off and leave you.
Yep.
And my man gene says, you ain't beating me, buddy. I'm going to take off and leave you. But I've done good. Most of the time I say, you know, if they get in front of me, they're probably going to get stopped the same as I am. It won't even really save them much time. So I just say, go ahead, take off, do what you need to do.
That's probably one of the things and I know we were talking about the positive side and how we look at things, but when I said I may have mild symptoms, when you're traveling and you're going through road construction, that's probably one of the times when I struggle the most with my attitude behind the wheel, is when you're notified that lane's going to be closed 2 miles before the closure. And
Yes.
and seriously, like 8 out of 10 cars immediately begin shifting over.
There's
And
always
2 out
them
of
too.
10, 2 out of 10, you know, when you're slowed down to 45 mile an hour, they're still flying by you at 70 for the next 2 miles. And then the reason you can't go more than 40 is because they're all backed up with their blinkers on, forcing their way in.
Yep.
And I get so frustrated, man.
It's
I just
like if
have to,
you would just obey the
yeah,
road rules, everybody would
yeah.
be moving, you know.
If everybody would make that change in a timely manner when they see the sign as traffic is flowing, it would never stop flowing. But inevitably, it winds up down to an absolute crawl or stop because of all the cars trying to get in.
Yep.
And you know, yeah, it is what it is.
It is. It's just
But I am, you know, I do think that's so important what you were saying. You know that it's we can say, you know, well, like you said, it's like the eBay thing. If that's what we're doing, you know, I have to go to work. I mean, how many people in this world would love to have the health and the ability to be able to get up and go to work? You know, they're struggling financially, their family's struggling because of a health situation that they can't do anything about, and they're just not able to. And then when we're perfectly healthy and everything's fine and we're getting to, and we get caught up in our own mental space, you know, and all we want to do is be upset about the fact that we're having to, you know, quote unquote, having to work instead of getting to. And I'm not saying it's not a battle, because it is. We all wrestle with it. But man, I'm telling you, when you can, I've been around those people that just seemed like they were just in a place, you know, and stayed there most of the time where they could keep those things in the right perspective. And it just, you can just tell it makes the day a lot easier, makes life a lot easier.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like honestly, it's not even a debate.
Mm-mm.
It ain't. I mean, it's I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, I'll say this,
Oh
since you're
God.
thinking about it.
Oh, I'm
Learning
thinking.
to be thankful, no matter what you know, no matter, you know, because we're not trying to push nothing down anybody's throat. It don't matter where you line up or where you feel in terms of your faith or anything like that. You can just be. I'm just telling you, living a life where you're thankful rather than full of complaining. It really does. It changes things. It changes things. And I mean, you can send yourself into a tailspin in a hurry mentally by just always viewing the world in a bad way or viewing your circumstances in a bad way. I'm
Yeah.
always, because of my faith, reminded, and it. I won't say more than this about it, but in everything, give thanks. And it's so simple and so short, and that seems contrary when you're thinking about, you know, when you're sick or when something bad's happening. But I mean, the reality is there's always something that could be worse. You know, there's always something that could be harder. And you know, it's just, we're getting to be here. You know, we're still here. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm on the right side of the dirt today. So I mean,
I'm
there's,
with you on that.
I mean,
It it blows my mind how I used to work with this woman, and man, she complained about everything. And you know what that causes? It causes people to not want to be around you.
yeah,
You hate, you know, when that person's coming, it's going to be more complaining, it's going to be more griping, it's going to be more belly
oh
aching,
yeah,
and you're like, I am going to listen to it. You know, I just want to get away. And I remember another guy I worked with that he was always smiling. He was always happy, cutting up, joking.
yep,
And you said something about faith. I'm pretty sure the guy wasn't a believer. Okay. And that's neither here nor there. It was, he just had a great attitude.
yep,
And you wanted to talk to him and be around him because of his attitude. The other lady, I don't know if she was a
yep,
believer or not, but I'll tell you right now, she sure didn't put off good testimony if she was. You know what I'm saying? Like
yep.
nobody wants what you have if you're miserable.
You know,
They
the
just
reality is, no matter where you find yourself in terms of faith, good sound advice is good sound advice.
it is.
I mean, it's just, that's reality. And you know, you can be going to a counselor and they're going to tell you a lot of the same things. You know, someone that's just doing it by a book that was written by some psychologist or scientist, and they're, you know, they're not going to instruct you in a different way. Like I said, just sound advice is sound advice, man. I wish I didn't have to learn a lot of these lessons the hard way, I mean, because I've had people tell me stuff like this when I was a kid, but it's like you have to live through the experience of being, like what we're talking about, having the wrong attitude a lot to learn how impactful having the wrong attitude can have on you. And
Yes.
then retraining yourself to react differently can be pretty difficult when you've, kind of become, more, I guess, grown up. My mom used to say it like this. So when you're young, you're like a little branch, a little sapling. You can bend it around and tie it different, make it grow all kind of ways. But when you get old, that pressure of bending, sometimes it breaks you to have to change. And but it's good to have good habits, even in how we view things.
That's a good, mama always know what to say, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's
Absolutely.
right. She's absolutely right.
Yeah.
I just love that my daughter reminds me of that a lot. If we ever say, like, for instance, it's time to get up, we got to go to church. She'll say, we get to go to church. And I'm like,
Yep.
yes, you're right. We get to. But, and I'll shut up about this, but I think about, and I know you said it too, all the people that would like to be where we're at. I remember seeing this little cartoon. This guy was sitting in his car, and this big, nice, huge truck drives by, and he's got a normal car, and he's like, must be nice. And then he takes off down the road, and he passes by the guy on the bicycle, and the guy on the bicycle says, must be nice. Then the guy on the bicycle takes down the road, and the guy walking says, must be nice. Then the guy in the walking starts walking down the road, and the guy in the wheelchair says, must be nice. It's there's always something to be thankful for.
Yep.
And it's usually the guy in the wheelchair that's going to be the most thankful.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just 100% perspective.
It is. I'll say this to be my last thought on it. My wife, I try to remember this, and to we can say things one time, but some things it bears being repeated from time to time to a person. And I've told her many times in this last year, how thankful I am that she's willing to. She was already working and I was working, but the fact that I'm here and I'm able to do this, what I'm doing right now, do eBay, have the extra time that when I need it for mom or for my brother or whatever, it's because she's still going to work every day and we have insurance and the things that we need. Because if she wasn't, then I would be, it's not an option. eBay doesn't make enough for us at this point for us to be able to pay for our insurance and those types of things. And, that being said, it's because of what she does, so I tell her all the time, I'm so thankful. I appreciate so much that you were okay with, she pushed me to do it before I was willing to do it, that you were okay with being the one to, I'll keep working. I'll have insurance because she wanted to work. But I see it as what she's done, what she's allowed me to do. It doesn't matter if she wants to right now. Because once we make that decision, it's not an option. You can still want to, but if that attitude changes, you still got to get up and go, So, I'm, we have a lot, so many things, that it's just all, like you said, it's how we perceive things. I ought to kick myself in the tail any morning I get up and have a negative attitude about having to list or ship or do anything else, because the only reason I'm getting to do it is because of what others are doing for me,
Oh, absolutely.
I can't be thankful enough for that.
Absolutely. I look at eBay sometimes and I'm thinking to myself, like, eBay, it is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. But eBay is kind of like, you've heard this term crowdsourced or crowdfunded. I mean, it's kind of what it is. We're just basically a big marketplace where people pick and choose what they want. And I mean, in doing so, they're completely directly supporting us. And I know we're out there doing the work and we're running down the items, but it's what I like to do. I like, for instance, this weekend, me and Tanya, I think it was Thursday, we went to some yard sales, and we got some really good stuff. And then Friday, I went out to a few and got some really good stuff. And it's like, this is my dream job. Like, it really is. Because Friday I bought, and I couldn't do this 3 years ago when I started. And I tell people to grow slow, because it's important to learn the game, learn your strategies.
Absolutely.
But I bought this guy's New Holland collection, tractors, belt buckles, everything he had. I made a big deal. We made a big deal on it. And in doing so, I bought he got this tractor. It's the big blue case New Holland tractor that has the huge dual wheels on the back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what it's called, but anyway, he helped develop that tractor.
Oh, wow.
He worked for the company for 35 years, and they gave him a die cast of that tractor that they made a limited run. He didn't say how many, but they gave one to each person that was on that team. So I'm guessing there might be maybe 25 or something in the world.
Yeah.
I look it up. I did not look anything up. We met in the middle on price. He wanted everything on the table that was priced. He was at like $150, $175. Then he had 12 belt buckles that are all case New Holland. Perfect, brand new, like not in a box or anything, but perfect. And I offered him 150 or something for everything at first. He come back at 250. We made it 200. I bought it all. Well, when I got it all home, I looked up that one piece, that one very special, and he has the letter that they gave him talking about that piece.
Yeah.
That they gave it to him as a special thing.
And you got the provenance with it then.
Yeah. And the ones that don't have that are shooting for 200. And the one I got, the only thing wrong with it is the little 3-point hitch area on the back of it. One side's broke. So I'm going to take some off for that. But I mean, I'm probably going to pay for that whole deal with one buy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I have not just eBay, but online marketplaces to thank for the ability to sell that. Now, me and you could go to the flea market. We could do yard sales all the time to make money. We could do that stuff, but you're never going to make the same kind of money that you can in an online marketplace. It's just
right.
My local flea market cannot compete with 185 million people or something on eBay.
Crazy. Yeah.
It's a ton of people. And if we could get our stuff in front of 185 million eyeballs, we'd be doing fine. I know that not everybody's seeing it, but there are so many people that's seeing it that I don't need to put it out at the flea market or whatever. And I mean, it's just, to me, when we talk about perspective, I think about that term. You see it on signs, and grateful, thankful, blessed. You see it on,
right.
They make signs and stuff. That really should be our mentality. My worst time is when I get home and I get comfortable and I'm around my family. I tend to let down, and that's when I become the biggest grouch. Like, take it out on them. And it's like, man, these are the people that's got your back. You shouldn't take it out on them. Go take it out on Josh or something, but don't take it out on them. No, but I mean, I love what eBay has provided, man. It's awesome.
Yeah. And I think that's probably a good segue too. We were talking about, in our sourcing and selling, because like when you buy a lot like that, you get a variety of items. I mean, those may all be case New Holland, but you're going to have items of various values. You're going to have items of various sell-through rates, because you're sometimes, to get the good deal, you're accepting the fact that some items may be shelf setters for a while, and they may even end up going into a yard sale pile or a larger lot of items just to be able to move them in order to get the items like the $200 item at a good price. And, you don't always want to you don't want to accumulate just tons and tons of bad inventory just to be able to acquire something good. It's better to make the deal for the one good item than to do that. But if it's all generally good, like the CD buy that I made, I mean, there's going to be quite a few. I'm going to have a box or two, like the little priority boxes that I'm going to probably fill up that are ones I don't list in the first run,
Yeah.
Either individually or collectively. I don't even lock them up because I'm going to have to study on how to do some of those. And there may be some that I put in a lot of like 50 and just try to, get, 50 cents or $1 a piece all together on, as a lot.
Yeah.
But that's okay. For that buy, that was okay for that buy.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
that guy wasn't wanting someone to come and pick out 10 items,
Yeah.
he wanted to sell it and sell it all. So you have to accept the good with the bad.
Yep.
But we also, in how we choose to sell that stuff, and it'll be the same with you on that lot, even though it's smaller, but you've bought some really big lots of stuff recently too. Like how you choose to approach selling it, you got to think a lot of times at what's more important. Is it important to have the money right now in hand, or is it important to more important to wait, long tail to get the maximum profit? That big tractor that you bought, that's a good example of an item that if it was me, the big tractor, I would price it where I felt like it lands because there's so few of them anyway. And I'd
Yeah.
wait on the right person. The fact that it's
Mhm.
got provenance with it, that you can prove that yours is exactly what you're claiming it to be with paperwork, even with the small damage, to me, that makes it worth one that does more than the one that doesn't
Oh,
have
yeah.
that doesn't have damage. I mean, to me, because
Yep.
somewhere down the line, if enough time passes, they may not be able to prove that that is exactly what they're saying it is, but yours ties directly back to them. You can
Yep.
trace the history of it to the employee and the factory through that paperwork. And that's worth money too for a collector down the
Oh,
road.
yeah, it is.
So, I mean, it puts it in a different category. So I would wait on that. Like, that's the kind of thing
Mhm.
that if I had to, I'd find a place to put it up once it's listed. And if I had to wait 6 months, a year, or even a year and 6 months to not take $50 less than what it's worth, that's what I would do. That's just me.
Yep.
That's how I operate. Now, I'm not going to do that with 1,000 items. It's a very
No, no, no.
limited and select,
Yeah.
group of items. I would rather look at that myself on my shelf for an extra 6 months than take 50 or $100 less than what I think it's worth. Yeah, that's just the way I
Totally
look at it.
agree. Totally
But
agree.
like these CDs that I'm selling, it's a different game. There's some of them there's some few that were rare, that I would get maybe that with a little bit. But like I was telling you before we got on the recording here, we started recording, that I've got this set that sold this last week, and I had two sets of the same thing in this collection. It's a 7 CD set that has 14 albums, like old LP albums, 2 per disc. And this Dave Clark, don't even know who it is. I'm not familiar with the music, but it's still more
Oh,
of
man,
that.
he was awesome back in the day. I don't know who he is either.
I hear you. Yeah, I believe you'd have said that before, Smarty. But seriously, like, there were 2 sets, and so the guy that owned this collection, he bought 2 sets of it, left one sealed, and then
Mhm.
opened the other collection and probably listened to them once a piece. I mean, every disc that I've
Listen,
looked at has been like not even one scratch on it. They are like brand new,
crazy.
every single one of them. And so when I price these, there's hardly any of them even listed. And the ones that have been listed usually are sold individually. They sell pretty good, $20, $25. That's for a used one, more for, a sealed one. So when I priced the open set, I priced them at about $100, which I felt like, based on sold comps on individual ones, was a pretty good deal. Well, I got an
Mm.
offer of $75, which is $25 less than what I listed them for. And they haven't been listed, but a few weeks. I might have made a bad decision. I don't know. Maybe if I'd have waited one more week, they would have sold for full price. But the reality is this: if I pass up 75, because it's kind of a small niche for a particular artist like that, if I pass that up today, I may be waiting 6 or 8 months to get another offer that's similar to that and be able to sell it. So here's
Yep.
my thought: is it better for me to take that $75 now when I literally have $1.75 in the items? How much can I make? Because my profit's probably going to be, $65, say, up 60,
Mhm.
65 bucks. How much money can I make from that $65 in 6 months by buying and selling other inventory over and over? Is it going to be more than the 25 that I'm giving up right now? Because I'm probably not a very good reseller if I can't take $65 of capital and make more than $25 off of it in 6 months. And so
Absolutely.
if you really want to grow your store, grow your earnings with your store, you've also got to come to terms with being able to let things go when you know you're making a good profit. Because if I don't sell enough of that to be ready for the next big music buy, if something like that comes along, then I'm going to have to let someone else have it, because
Yeah.
I've been too greedy about those extra. I got to have that other $2. I just no, you can't have that $9 item for $7. I refuse to give up those $2. I mean, you got to be careful how you view those things, or you will hurt yourself in the long run. Yeah, you may make that sale in 6 months, but how much money are you leaving on the table because you wanted that? I think it's Ken that says the fast nickel or the slow dime.
Yeah.
I mean, how much are we actually losing because of those decisions sometimes?
I think if you look at big companies, big corporations, they liquidate inventory all the time, and they sell it at a loss all the time to make room for stuff that is valuable. And it happens. And I know we have to be a little bit more cautious than like a Walmart, because they got the money to throw around. But I mean, that's what they do. They purposely get rid of stuff just to make room. And sometimes we have to say, you know what, this $20 item that I've got that really ain't moving, somebody just offered me 12. It's been 2 years. It's time to go, because I'm going to find $100 item that could sit where it's sitting. It's all just business 101. You got to be smart. And I've learned in a lot of scenarios that, there's a lot of people that are just, they're kind of, I don't know if you want to call it greedy. I don't know that it's necessarily greedy, but they're so stuck. Like, no, I'm firm at $10, and it's like, okay, I'll give you an example, something that blew my mind this week. And then we'll go into some of our segments, but we was at one yard sale, and this guy had some cool stuff, but he knew what he had, and he had not so cool prices. He had a Dale Earnhardt train set still in the box, still wrapped up in the paper. Really cool. He won $100 for it. It's selling for $150. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do $100. There's not enough meat.
No.
I mean, I could make probably $25, but that's a large chunk of money to make $25.
I don't know. If you do free shipping on it, you wouldn't.
It'd be very.
There's no way.
If I did free shipping, I might make $10 to $15.
But I mean, seriously, because fees are going to be high on a $150 sale. You're going to be looking at $20 in fees.
Oh yeah.
So you only got a $50 window to start with. So you're down to 30 before you pay for your shipping.
Yep. So, it was like, not everything they had was like that. We did walk away from some stuff that was high, but we bought some stuff that wasn't. I did buy an old classic car VHS rewinder that I think will be pretty good for $1. So some stuff was priced right, some stuff wasn't. But he had like 5 totes under the table full of nicer diecast stuff, transporters and Dale Earnhardt stuff, and I knew it was nicer. Well, he started off at $5 a piece, and I'm like, okay, that's a good starting point. I can work with $5 a piece. So I said, if I bought everything you got right there, what kind would you make me a deal? Sure, sure, I'd make you a deal. So I said, I'll give you $3 a piece for every single piece. He hum-hawed around. He wouldn't even talk to me for like 15 minutes. He just walk around talking to other people. And I'm like, is he not thinking about it? Or anyway, finally, when I went to pay for everything, I said, you want to do that deal? And he's like, no, I don't think I can take that. So I said, well, I'll give you $4 a piece. And he's still like, I'm like, what? I don't know what else to say, but I said, is $4 good? But this is what he told me. He's like, I would have to pull them all out and inventory them and look at them and write them all down. I'm like, you just told me you'd take $5 a piece. Are you not going to even take $5 a piece if I buy them all? Yeah. He was so odd. But
and honestly, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But I mean, he said, give me your number because I got more in the house too. And I'm like, well, I mean, that's fine, but the deal I'm talking about is right here. Like, he says, give me your number. I'll call you back. You can come back and get them. I'm like, I may or may not be back in town today, and just to try to spur on.
Yeah.
You want to make a deal now but he was one of them collectors that he put his collection out there. I really believe some people do this. They have a yard sale just to show off what they got. And they throw the price so high. If it sells, well, I will take that. But if it don't, I'll just put it back on my shelves, like
Right.
I really believe that happens. And I mean, I was basically going to buy his set and he just kind of wouldn't even talk to me about it.
Right.
And I'm like, okay,
The other thing that strikes me on those types of deals, it's like the $5 a piece thing. One, if you go back and say it's a Friday, Saturday thing where he's out there 2 days, if someone happens to show up that's kind of their niche, they really know it, they're going to go through and everything that's worth $20 or more, it's going to be stripped out for the $5 a piece. If they have to pay $5, they're going to get all that. And then when he calls you back, there's not going to be anything in there worth more than $10 anyway. So you're going to be stuck with a lot of low dollar inventory that you got to cycle through, and you're not going to find any treasures inside of it. But on the other hand, I think sometimes too, it's intimidating to think about every single item individually being discounted. That's why, when you're buying a variety of different things and you put them in a pile, well, can I just make a pile? Would you do a deal on a bundle? A lot of us do that. And we get some really good deals that way. Well, sometimes on a collection, I think maybe, which this the time, there might have been, I don't know how many pieces there were, but, say there were 100 pieces and that was going to be $500 if you paid for all of them at $5. If you'd have known there were 100 pieces and known it was $500, it might have sounded different to him to say, will you take 350 right now for all of it? Like they don't process it as, oh, that's 350 each. They process it as $350 in my hand. Or, he might come back and say, well, I'll do 4. Well, that's still $4 each. The $4 each sounds like it's not doable, for some reason to a lot of people in those situations.
I have done it both ways. I think there's a time for both tactics because some people do want an idea of what they're going to get per. And then other people are just interested in the maximum amount they can get. So it's kind of hard to weigh that out. I have done it both ways. Like one thing, he's like, I'll have to pull them out and count them. And I told him, well, I can help you, look at, no, I'll just have to write it all down. I'm like, all right. I don't know if he saw me coming, like this guy may be going to sell these.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go look them up. And that, I think that happens too. But,
and that sounds a lot like I'll have to inventory them all so I can pull the ones out that are really valuable before I make this deal.
Yep. I think that's what it feels like. That's kind of what I picked up on. Yeah, I think it does happen that way. Well, let's do you got some wrestling history for the folks today?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Let's do it. So I wrote down one thing that I thought was kind of cool. By the way, that Ultimate Maniacs video you sent me.
That was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Hey, the Ultimate Warrior was a psycho.
Oh, my goodness.
Do you remember the ones where he's like, we're going to go up to the starship? And I'm like, what?
He's got his back to the camera. And he's just vibrating and making noises, as Macho
Man's over here like, this guy's nuts.
He's like, I don't know about
Macho Man's crazy.
I know. When you can still look nuts standing next to Macho Man, you have sold your character.
You're off the chart. Crazy. So I think it was last week or week before that I talked about Scott Hall showed up on WCW television on Nitro for the official launch of the NWO storyline. So this week, couple weeks down the road, he unveiled his big surprise, which everybody remembers now. That was Kevin Nash showing up on Nitro. And I remember watching this live, and man, this was when there was internet, but it was such a brand new thing that you couldn't go on there and look up spoilers and look up, like Dave Meltzer's take on stuff and all that. Kevin Nash shows up, and it really does feel like 2 WWF guys just showed up on WCW TV. It really felt like that. But interesting thing about Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, both, they had worked for WCW probably like 5 years prior. Kevin Nash had worked as Vinny Vegas and a character named Oz. If you want to see something cool, look up Oz, O-Z. And Scott Hall had worked as the Diamond Stud, and he was managed by Diamond Dallas Page. So some cool information there, but that just, transcended it not transcended, but transformed the whole business for about 4 years. The NWO angle ran in some various form or fashion. It was probably the single longest running storyline in history.
And they were a lot bigger stars when they came back. When they had their runs with Razor Ramon and Diesel in WWF or WWE as it is now.
Yep.
I mean, when they came back to WCW, they were two of the bigger stars from the other side.
They blew up.
A lot different than when they moved from WCW the first time.
Yes, absolutely. All right, what you got?
Well, I wrote down 2 or 3 things, but we'll just pick one. I may do 2. So the first one in 2002, this same week, Stone Cold, he walked out of so there was supposed to be a live taping of Raw in Atlanta. And he got there and he was supposed to face Brock Lesnar, and he found out that he was supposed to lose to him. It's one of those push type matches, new faces being pushed. And he got so upset because he's already having some problems health-wise. He's having some issues, with his body. And he got so upset because he felt like that should be a really big match if they were going to do it. People shouldn't get it for free. He showed up, but he left. He left before they ever even started the live show. And so they had to change that altogether. And I think he was out 8 or 9 months before he showed back up and did a promo or a match again. I mean, he spent a good bit of time out.
Yeah, he was out for
I think it was 8 months. I think it was February. It was like a pay-per-view, I think, when he came back.
Yeah. I think he showed back up at No Way Out because he came back. I might be wrong about this. He came back and he had put on a little weight.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, he had a little bit of a beer belly on him when he showed up. Imagine that, Stone Cold Steve Austin with a beer belly. And I think it was during like a Triple H Rock match or something. He come out and rescued the Rock or something. But yeah, that was, I remember that well when that happened. Brock Lesnar went on to become one of the bigger stars. And Steve Austin talked about that in a documentary about how they rushed it, like they was rushing it, trying to get him, push him to the moon. And I agree with his take. Like, Steve Austin's your biggest star, basically one of your 2 biggest stars. And that is a money match. Make it realistic.
And that's what he was saying. It deserved a storyline because he said that should, if he was going to be passing the torch, so to speak, he felt like it deserved a better storyline, and it was going to be a big money match when it happened. It shouldn't just be, as he said, given away for free, because that's what it felt like to him, that they were just giving it away, which is selling him low. I mean, I get it. He was the big time. He was, they were selling him low, selling him cheap, so.
Yep. Absolutely. And he knew what it was. Steve Austin, man, he came from nothing. Like, you listen to his backstory. He rode up and down the roads, would eat a can of, what is it, beanie weenies or something. I mean, he would eat whatever he had to and sleep in his car and make $20 for the weekend and not be able to get back home, and just to try to break out. And then never really got a start in WCW. He done okay, but he was just always overlooked, kind of.
Yeah.
And then he got hurt. And, if anybody wants to see Stone Cold Steve Austin before he became Stone Cold Steve Austin, look up some of his interviews in ECW. He went over there and he didn't wrestle. He just did a bunch of interviews, promos, and he was Stone Cold. He didn't look the same, but he was Stone Cold. And when he showed up in WWE, it just, it all history from there.
Just kind of came together. He had to learn the mic skills. That was a big thing for him.
Yeah.
Once he got that down, it changed everything. We won't talk a long time about this one, but I just thought this was kind of cool because The Rock is such a larger than life figure, just, period, as a pop culture figure in our country. But his grandfather, High Chief Peter, and I won't say the name right, maybe Maivia. Is that how you say it?
That is right. Maivia.
I always struggle when I can hear it in my head, but when I try to say it, I feel like it don't come out right. But he passed away. I think it's 45. He had cancer. It was 1982.
And I think it was like,
just 45 when he passed away.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that was, there's so many actually. I know with the bloodline stuff that's going on, there's so many people from that family, that wrestling family over time, that are connected one way or another, be they cousins or whatever, that have been very influential in the business over the years. So
Gosh, yeah.
so many.
The Samoan heritage in
Yeah.
WWE, if you erase that, you would probably take out 30% of
Yeah.
everything.
Oh yeah.
It's been a lot more than people realize. Like
It is.
Yokozuna,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
he was billed as a sumo. He was
Yeah.
Samoan. He was
He
The
was.
Rock's
Yeah.
cousin.
Yep.
Uh, Rikishi, before he was Rikishi, he was the Sultan. Before that, he was Fatu and the
Yep.
Head Shrinkers. I mean, he was all over the place. Like, I think he's the Usos' dad
Hmm.
now. I believe
He
that's his
is.
kids. And Solo,
Yep.
whatever his name is. And I mean, that family is just like, yeah, big,
They pump
big,
them
big.
out.
Influence.
The
Yeah,
wrestlers. That is.
yeah. And they're made for it. Like
Yeah.
they look like total killers. Most of them, like, they're just built for it.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
if I seen Roman Reigns coming at me, I'd be like, hold on, man. I am the champ. You can't touch me. But no, I'd be like, no, please don't hurt me.
You can have my dinky belt.
Yes, I give it to you. Nobody ever take it from you again. uh, so let's go over to comment of the week. I have a good one. I like my comment this week. It is from Nebraska Picker. Simply states Caleb wins, and then that's all you got to worry about.
Yeah. I didn't quite see it that way, but
That's
it is
okay.
what it is.
It's okay.
We'll discuss more about that in a minute. Funny case though, Nebraska Picker actually left 2 comments, and I picked the other comment. And as we said,
Hey,
we don't run comments by each other. We have ours picked before we get ready to record,
yep.
ever start talking to each other. But anyway, he said, the first time I told someone I was a reseller at a garage sale, the price went from $1 per item to $3 per item. He said, I haven't told anyone hosting a garage sale that I'm a reseller since that day. And I know it stinks
It
when that kind of
happens.
stuff happens, but I
Yeah.
do think in the long run, and I'm, you got to do what works for you, so I would say
Yep.
that to him and to anyone else that hears the show. Do what you feel comfortable with. If you're not comfortable telling
Oh,
people,
yeah.
I get it. If you think it's going to hurt you more than it helps you, my thoughts are that in the long run, you're probably going to benefit more by people knowing than you will by people not knowing. Even if
Yes.
it's when you're out when you're out doing a yard sale, there's going to be enough people that when they find out that you're someone that's a motivated buyer that maybe has a collection they haven't gotten out, that might say, well, I got some stuff you might be interested in.
Yep.
And it don't take a lot of those to cancel out all the times where you have someone try to raise the prices or not want you at their sale. And that's
Yep.
okay. That's going to happen sometimes. At least to me, I think that's worth it,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's hit up sale of the week. What you got?
Well, I'll say technically my sale of the week happened during the recording last week, my best sale.
All right. It's within a week. We'll take it.
Well, I mean, it was such a good sale. It was Game Boy Color, Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Red, and you've already seen that. The 3 cartridges with cases, and 2 of the games had manuals, and that sold for $300. But since they already knew that, since everybody's seen that already, I mentioned that Dave Clark CD set, and that was probably my next best sale from this week for $75. And in some ways, because of how little I have in it, I mean, you're talking about $1.75 into $75. And I had a couple of sales in that $60 to $70 range, this week, but that was the best one besides the Pokemon,
I finally sold. I bought these 2. You remember back in the day, you probably wanted one. I wanted one. I remember them real well, but we couldn't afford this kind of stuff. They had these big plastic cases that your Super Nintendo, your Sega Genesis went in, and your games sit in it. And I always wanted one, but they was as expensive as the system, and you was lucky if you got the system. Like, you just stack the games up or whatever.
Yep.
But I found a Sega Genesis, and I've sold the Super Nintendo already, but I found both of those type case display deals, and the Sega Genesis entertainment system sold for $125.99. Now, I do free shipping. Shipping was around $20. Fees and all that, I made about $80. So, but I paid $1 for it at a yard sale. So, I mean, how can you 80 times, that's pretty good. I'll take it.
And that's the thing. I'll say this too. We were talking earlier about trying to, improve our ASP, our average sale price.
Yeah.
And, I do think there's something to be said. Maybe it was Scott that had mentioned this when we were on with him, or he was on with us, a couple weeks back.
Mm-hmm.
I think we would do well sometimes as resellers, as we grow as a reseller, to focus more of our energy on the sourcing side, more time if we have to source twice as long to get items that are twice as good, instead of buying so many mediocre items that we have to work so hard listing so many items to get the same amount of income. Because if you're not careful, at some point you invest so much time, that you're really limiting your overall, potential as far as your max income, because those of us that are doing this, and we're the only one that does everything pretty much. You only have so many hours to divide into the various aspects of reselling. So the higher quality items you source, and the more of them you source, like what you just said, $1 into, 125, that you profit $80 from. That's the type of stuff. If you got a store full of items like that, you don't have to sell as many items to make a really good income, a really good living. And I think that's the direction to head in. I know if I was out every single day, if I could go out, and I live too far from town to do this, but if I could, like some people that live in town, if I had 5 thrift stores within 10 minutes of my house, 10 to 15 minutes, and I could make a loop for about 2 hours every morning and hit them up every morning when they're putting out, I could focus only on the best items I see every morning, and I would do a lot better. That's not an excuse. That just means that when I go, I need to be more calculated when I do go, and just be careful about what I get. But anyway.
Absolutely.
Really important.
I agree. I think, I've employed that same mindset of set a limit and don't list the cheaper stuff and lot it together, or heaven forbid, do another whatnot auction. Packing is so hard for that. But it's just, on eBay, I feel like if you list a bunch of cheap stuff, you sell a bunch of cheap stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It really feels like. And if you list a bunch of expensive stuff, you seem to sell more stuff like that.
Yeah.
I have no data, no evidence, no scientific facts to back that up, but it really feels like that's what happens.
I think it's just common sense, really, too, Caleb. You can't sell high value items if there's no high value items in your inventory.
Ain't that true?
You can't.
That is
just
so
reality.
True.
And if all we source are items that are worth $40 or less, then we're going to be selling a lot of inventory. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. I have a lot of stuff like that. Don't take that the wrong way. Yeah. But I just think the more we can do to try to position ourselves to have a greater portion of our inventory be items that are $50 or above sold, say, it's going to benefit us in the long run. We may have less items in our store eventually doing that, but if we're making the same average number of sales per week that we normally make, and we've slowly tilted the value of our inventory upward on a per item basis, then our overall, income should also be increasing if we're not overpaying.
Absolutely. All right. So
look, there's some reselling talk.
Yeah, we had a little.
Yeah,
I've got the belt in my shop, so I guess that means I'm the champion.
I don't know. No, we talked about this. So I say we talked about it. I tried to, and you wouldn't listen. It was a tie this week. There's no tie. That means we both had the same number of votes.
So that means draw.
No, we're not drawing pictures. We're not drawing pictures.
No contest. It's kind of like the belt don't change hands on a disqualification.
Well, yeah, and since it was mine before that, I think that means that you probably got counted out or something. You got disqualified.
Is 9/10 of the law, sir.
Oh, we're talking about the real one, not that little dinky toy you're putting on your shoulder. Man, come on.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, we'll just have to go week 2 here and see what happens.
We'll see what happens. We will.
Let's see. time to lay the smack down, brother.
Go for it, buddy.
All right. Okay. Did you hear they arrested the devil?
I didn't.
Yeah, they got him on possession.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. All right. Oh man. Again, I will
here
say,
comes the excuses. Here comes
no, it's not an excuse. This is a preface. I take these as what they are. They're jokes. So, do you hear about the guy in Iraq that called the suicide hotline?
No.
Man, the person on the other end got so excited they said, "Can you drive a truck?"
Oh my gosh. Oh, good grief. Okay, so let us know. Oh, wow.
You have to think about it a minute.
Yeah, I know it's yeah. So go down in the comments and vote for me.
Let me know how terrible I am.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought you'd appreciate, the possession thing.
Oh, that was good. That was really good.
My mother-in-law has a bunch of that stuff in her house. She has dolls, and the kids are like, "Them dolls are evil." I'm like, "Yeah, they are. I don't like them." Oh, suicide hotline. All right. So let us know that I won in the comments, and we appreciate that.
Yeah. It's good to have an encouraging voice on the other side when you make that call, ain't it?
Yes, it is. It is. All right. So we're just going to head out, but we're just a few weeks away, guys. If you're making your plans, come see us. 8 weeks until Highway 127 time. I actually started seeing signs this week that said yard sale spaces for rent. So it's getting real. It's getting real.
Did you get your sale while we were on?
I've got mine turned off. Ooh, nice. Dan,
that's another one from that music buy. Another $50.
I don't think I got any sales. Nope, I got no sales. Nothing.
And I mean, that's one. It's not technically a box set, but it's one little set, And I didn't do CD to CD items. So I mean, you're talking about 25 cents into $50.
It's crazy.
I mean, that's what it amounts to.
It just keeps happening. Love it.
I'm going to have to go through and total it all up pretty soon and see where I'm at.
Oh man, you're going to do so good on that. It's not even going to be funny. Like, you're going to kill it.
I'm going to be ashamed. I'm going to have to call the guy up and go take him some more money.
I have felt that way a few times. Like, you buy it at a yard sale, you can't remember which one it was, and you're like, I should give them more money. I have no idea who it was, though.
Well, he told me, I don't know if they're as valuable, but he told me that his dad also had a huge book collection. That can be really good, or it can be just nothing.
Yeah,
but I really thought about contacting, because he said I'd have to come to the house to look at those, and I didn't want to do it too soon behind it. But I thought about contacting and be like, hey, those CDs sold a lot better than I thought they would. He knew what I did, and say, can I give you an extra $100 and maybe come look at the books and see if we can come to see if there's any interest there, So we'll see.
Right.
I friended him on Facebook, so I do have his contact. So we'll see how it goes.
That, or you could just call Alex, Beard King Picker. Shout out Alex, Beard King Picker.
Yeah, that's right.
And be like, hey, I know where a book collection's at. Maybe make you a little commission. Be like, I'm going to send you this guy if you'll give me, like $50 or whatever.
Yeah, just shout out to Reseller Locker Room, period, because they are co-hosting with us this year. So we appreciate them guys. And they're working hard to try to promote the event too. So we appreciate all that they're doing on their individual channels and on their podcast as well. We really do.
I feel bad. We're trying to get together on a collaborative live, and it's pretty much been me that's holding it up because of everything that's going on. This week we're in VBS, so hopefully next week we'll be able to get together and have a live all together and hang out and promote the event and laugh and just have a good time. But I think that's going to do it for this week. Any final words, oh wise one?
I put on a good front, huh? The trick is to sound smart.
I think there's a picker up in Commonwealth that's got that all figured out.
Yeah, sometimes.
The sounding. No,
No, I don't
just
have
kidding.
anything else. We appreciate all you guys, everybody that's listening. We sure could use 2 more subs. So if you're listening today and you're not, make it all the way to the end. Click that subscription button. We keep bouncing back and forth between having enough to be monetized and not having enough. We were planning to have our live show to celebrate that, and we lost 3 subscribers.
We're just waiting on you guys to spur that back on for us.
Yeah. So it feels guilty to do it when you're at $9.98 again.
Yeah, I know.
We'll see.
All right. Thank you guys for being here. That's going to do it this week. We will see you next time.
Wow.
Have a good one. Bye, guys.
See ya.